Joining us, Reecie Colbert from SiriusXM's The Reecie Colbert Show. She serves as their host here. First timer for our program. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I said your name right, correct?
Yes, you did.
Thank you. Tell us a little, for people who aren't familiar with your show, tell us about it. What perspective do you take?
Well, my show is called The Reecie Colbert Show on SiriusXM Urban View. It's the Black Talk radio station, and I talk a little bit of politics, a little bit of pop culture. So I call it the cookout on a Saturday afternoon.
So this is a Saturday. Say it's Saturday, and people are around the barbecue. What would they be saying about the state of politics today?
Well, I think they would be saying that the state of politics needs to get back to the bread and butter issues. Way too much of the conversation is about whether or not President Biden should stay in the race, and the Democrats are guilty of perpetuating that conversation and not moving the needle forward on how we're going to get these gas prices down, how we're going to get these grocery prices down, these interest rates down, and make living more affordable for everyday Americans.
When it comes then to President Biden and the things he's been talking about on these issues, why do you think that message is not translating?
I think it's not translating. I think they're focusing way too much on the issue of Donald Trump being a threat to democracy, which is very much true. But the reality is that what people are focusing on is how much they're paying for milk, eggs, and cereal, and how much they're paying for childcare. The Democrats actually have really excellent solutions to that, and solutions that Republicans are obstructing, or even in cases like some of the Republican states, denying the ability to have food assistance for students in the summer, that they could be focusing on. And so there needs to be a lot more contrasting on the economic agenda and vision for the future, and a little bit less talking about things that are baked into the cake with American voters, which is that Donald Trump is now a convicted criminal, twice impeached president. And I'm not just saying that, I'm not saying that to normalize it. I'm saying it that given that people know that already, what else can you do to move the needle forward?
And I was about to ask, because he is the other person in this race, do those issues that you think need to be talked about effectively get pushed to the side from here to November?
They do, if we allow it to. Yes, absolutely. Donald Trump does not have actual solutions. He's proposing tariffs, which is a regressive tax increase on all Americans. And so the fact that he is getting away with that, the fact that his manufacturing record was horrible, the fact that his tariffs on China and his China policy was horrible, many things that he did during his administration did not work. And there's absolutely no focus on that. And so I think that the messaging and the emphasis has to move beyond just Donald Trump's criminal past, history, present, and it needs to move to how big of a failure his record was.
Reecie Colbert, the conversation, as you hinted at and said, is about whether the president should stay in the race overall, and then the vice president constantly being mentioned these days. Give us your take on that conversation that's been having.
Well, I honestly, I think it's a fair conversation. I think that Democrats, instead of trying to stifle the conversation, should be trying to shift it again to those bread and butter issues. But I think that there needs to be a little bit less arrogance in telling people to just shut up about whether or not the president should continue. This is a show and prove campaign, and that goes for incumbents, that goes for President Biden. I think he has the capacity to show that he's up to the task, and he needs to do that. And I think his allies would serve him well by doing that as well. As far as the conversation about Vice President Kamala Harris, I think that any notion that she is unelectable is absurd. She is one of the most winningest politicians that we have in the Democratic Party. She was one half of the ticket that got the most votes in history. Polls have shown that she is the preferred successor to President Biden. If he were not to be the nominee, she would be the preferred choice. And new polling has shown that she can beat Donald Trump. And so ignoring that is also a little bit foolish. So I don't know how this is going to shake out. I think we'll know very soon whether or not, with this ABC interview coming up, President Biden can really prove he's up to the task, or if he will, get enough information to decide to step aside. Either way, the Democratic Party should be solely focused on moving the needle forward with the voters on the issues that matter most to them.
To what degree are you surprised that you're hearing voices on a lot of different fronts, whether it be members of Congress, whether it be pundits on media, whether it be others, about this idea of changing the nominee at this point?
Well, I am actually quite shocked to hear that. We've known that President Biden is old. To be put it frankly, he was old when he was elected the first time. And so all of this stuff was kind of baked into the cake. However, on the other hand, maybe it's a little foolish to be shocked because 50% of the country, according to polls, have been saying that they don't want a rematch of President Biden and President Trump. And so the debate kind of gave that opening to say, see, we told you we need to switch course. So I support President Biden moving forward. I support him making whatever decision he feels is best and what he's up to. And I would support Vice President Kamala Harris if that were the tack that they decided to take.
We've heard President Biden talk about the policies that have benefited African Americans. We've heard the former president say that his past policies benefited African Americans. What do you think about those two cases that each individual is making?
Former President Donald Trump has no leg to stand on in terms of saying that his policies benefited the Black community. There were hundreds of thousands of Black businesses that were eradicated under President Trump. The unemployment skyrocketed. His criminal justice reform was hostile to Black Americans. They pretty much got rid of any kind of civil rights activism in his administration. He appointed 3 Supreme Court justices that have, under the Biden administration, now overturned many of the protections that African Americans enjoy in this country. And so he has absolutely no leg to stand on. On the other hand, the Biden administration has really been a champion for our community in so many ways. I personally reported on many of these issues at the White House, such as home ownership appraisal bias. Vice President Kamala Harris has championed Black maternal mortality and maternal mortality largely, which has resulted in over 40 states expanding postpartum Medicaid coverage for 12 months as opposed to 60 days. And so I can go on and on the environmental justice record low unemployment. But it's more so about the deliberate racial equity lens that this administration has taken forward that has really helped our community. And that's something that I believe they will continue to do, and they should make that case.
How can people find your show?
I'm at ReecieColbert.com, SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126. They can favorite it on the SiriusXM app.
Our guest is the host of the Reecie Colbert Show, joining us for the first time on Washington Journal. I hope you'll come back.
I certainly will. Thank you.
Thank you.